Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my Joseph Wall. Welcome into Game Over Toronto, following a increasingly rare Leafs win 2-1 in overtime over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Finally, we beat the damn Blue Jackets, thanks almost entirely to one Joseph Woll, who continues to be just the best part about this team that continues to frustrate us each and every night. But the Leafs win. We actually can be positive for once. So welcome in, everyone. My name is Zach Payne. I will be your host for this evening's program as we recap like I said, a rare Leafs win. Good way to rebound after that game against Montreal. Wasn't the best effort, but it counts all the same, and at the end of the day, I care more about wins at this point of the season. The process is what it is. We will talk about all of that. Before we do, if I could get you to hit that like button and subscribe to Game Over Toronto. We do streams after every single Toronto Maple Leafs game, well, for the most part, but we do shows after most Toronto Maple Leafs games, so make sure that you're subscribed and you have the notification bell checked so that you don't miss any of these live streams. Or if you're watching after the fact, then, well, we're happy to have you, but make sure you check us out live. And I already see Luke in the chat saying breathing into a paper bag intensifies. Yeah, how are you doing stress level wise there, Luke? That was a game. That was a game, and we got a lot to talk about. Starting off in this first period, we are going to do a game recap, as always, and then in the second period, the big story, the third period, a smaller story, the fourth period, Q&A, but as you guys, the regulars, know, I run this as an interactive Q&A live show throughout, so by all means, drop your thoughts in the chat, and I will get to you when it's convenient to me. That sounded rude. I will get to you when I can, because I've got notes on my phone here from the game. But, sorry, to start this one, to start the game recap, we actually have to start before the game because we got some pretty big news. Auston Matthews, Matthew Knies, Nic Roy, all of them back in the lineup for this one. Dakota Joshua scratched. Matias Maccelli scratched. Jacob Quillen sent back down to the minors. And so the Leafs rolling out a new lineup. Top line, Knies, Matthews, Domi. Second line, Cowan, Tavares, Nylander. Third line, Robertson, Waugh, McMahon. Fourth line, Lawrence, Lawton, Yarncroke. So the forward lines looked a lot different in this one. And early on, Benoit with actually a rare good play. You guys know that I've told Simon Benoit to stop believing in himself, but he actually makes a nice play down the boards, gets in front of Nylander for a chance, gets turned away. Tavares had a rebound chance, gets turned away. OEL and Miles Wood had a pushing and shoving match in front of the Leafs net that somehow gave Columbus a power play, even though both guys were going at it. That was a little bit odd. Woll had to make a couple of saves, Woll made a couple of saves before that, and I noted it on that penalty kill. Matthews and Knies are no longer the primary penalty killers. They're no longer the first over the boards. They were third on the penalty kills throughout this game by my count. Scott Laughton and Steven Lorentz are the primary penalty killers, which is fantastic because Scott Laughton is so good at killing penalties. Fantilli, after that penalty, the Leafs kill it off. Fantilli had a chance in transition that was turned away by Woll. Matthews and Domi ran a nice little give and go in the offensive zone. Matthews with a quick release. It hits the post. Knies, a little slow to get up after he dove trying to swat it behind Greaves. Greaves was quick to cover that one and keep it at 0-0. Former Leaf and old friend Zach Aston Reese got into it with Dakota Mermis and Voronkov also was pushing Mermis, and somehow, some way, Dakota Mermis was the only one to get a penalty on this play. It was absolute BS. Back-to-back, pushing and shoving matches that only the Leafs get called for. Berube was irate. I was upset. Everyone was annoyed at what was happening. The refs not sharp early in this one. The Leafs go back to the penalty kill. On that penalty kill, Woll makes a couple of nice saves on Provorov, and the Leafs are able to kill it off. OEL with a really bad neutral zone turnover gives it away and allows the Jackets to get another transition chance. Adam Fantilli stopped in transition. He was everywhere tonight. Nic Roy called for a hooking play. Now in real time, I thought this was just a stick lift, and I thought it was a horrible call. On the replay, he got into the hands, but that being the third power play for Columbus in the first period. I was annoyed that power play would carry over into the start of the second, but once again, the Leafs kill it off 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. Scott Laughton and Steven Lorentz were excellent on the PK in this one. After that penalty kill, Benoit with an egregiously bad neutral zone turnover that led to a couple of Columbus chances. Matthews with a really hard offensive shift and like hard battling, like really intense offensive shift where he was just getting after it, managing to keep the puck alive, managing to keep the offensive zone possession for the Leafs, just working and working and working. It was a great shift from the captain, and he earned himself a shot from the high slot, but it went into Greaves' stomach on a little turnaround. Knies tries to send a pass back to Riley. That goes past Morgan, and it leads to like a 4-on-2.5 for the Jackets. Sean Monahan gets a shot in tight, but Joseph Woll is able to turn him away 1-on-1 with the shooter. I noted that 6 minutes into the second period was going by so slowly. Like 6 minutes in, there was already 12 stoppages. We were averaging a stoppage every like 30 seconds. So many icings, and every shot was absorbed by the goalie. It was just really, really slow hockey there to start the second period. Cowan had a chance in transition where he took it to the net, but he was turned away by Greaves. Second line had a nice cycle shift following that chance, and then back in the other end, Cowan flubbed it on a breakout attempt. That led to Fantilli having a 1-on-1 with Joseph Woll. He fakes inside, darts back outside, but Woll is able to turn him away with the blocker. I noted that Nic Roy was struggling to babysit Robertson and McMahon. That line was horrible all night. Nic Roy was okay, but Robertson and McMahon completely useless in this game. The Jackets had another chance on a weird bouncing play where Cole Sillinger batted it out of the air. Monahan gets dumped by Benoit. Joseph Woll, he somehow reads the play and is able to turn away that chance with another save. Then another odd man rush for the Jackets, and Zach Werenski gets a shot off. He rings it off the post and in. That gives the Jackets a 1-0 lead, except after video review and after a Leafs coach's challenge, the play was determined to be offside. No goal. It remains 0-0. The top line was out. Matthews had a weird deflection off it was a deflection off a coil, and it was a wacky bounce, but Greaves somehow stayed with it. Credit to Jet Greaves. He was very good in this game. A brawl started after Monahan was dumped into Joseph Woll. Bit of a dive by Monahan. He kind of sold it a little bit, and then a lot of pushing and shoving in front of the Leafs net. Matthews had a good net drive off a great feed by Domi to give him a chance to drive the net, and he draws a call finally on that 6-on-5. The Leafs would get a really good chance, their best of the game so far to that point, where Morgan Riley had it at the side of the net. It bounces out front, and Knies one-times it as it bounces out front. But Greaves makes a great left pad stop. On the power play, the Leafs are bringing back the 5-forward unit. They had Easton Cowan out there with the usual 4 forwards that are out there. So Matthews, Knies, Tavares, Nylander, and Cowan out there. I'm a lot more skeptical because last year with Marner being the point man, you could get away with it because Marner was basically a defenseman out there. Like, he's good enough defensively that you could get away with it. I don't really trust the 5-forward setup as much right now, but they had a couple of okay opportunities. I think they just need to practice a little bit more because they didn't look fully comfortable with the setup yet. After a couple of okay shots, not a ton of danger. And then after that power play, Nic Roy, Yarncroke, and Lorentz had some nice cycle chances, but we go to second intermission 0-0. Early on, Tavares flying off the bench gets a steal, creates a 2-on-1, but Greaves makes a very nice glove save on him. And Ekman-Larsson turnover in the neutral zone. Again, he was really bad at the breakout passes in this one for some reason. Led to another Columbus rush chance. A slashing call gave the Leafs a power play. On this power play, William Nylander just egregiously stopped playing for some reason and gave the Jackets a 3-on-1. On that 3-on-1, Joseph Woll comes across and makes a fantastic save to bailing out Nylander in that poor effort. End of the power play, Domi, Waugh, and Robertson combined for a couple of nice little chances in front. Domi had a nice wraparound attempt that Waugh deflected, but it couldn't find the back of the net. Woll comes across to make another good save. Domi then fans on a pass on a cycle chance. Domi fans on a pass back to Stetcher. Stetcher's put in no man's land. He decides to go back instead of risking it. Leads to a 3-on-2. And Zach Werenski, honestly, not even the best look necessarily. He just beats Joseph Woll. The dam finally breaks, and Werenski finds the back of the net for the second time in this game, but the first one that counts. That gives the Jackets a 1-0 lead with about 6 minutes to go. Admittedly, I thought that it was over at this point, but a couple of minutes later, the second line on the cycle, Cowan, with a little bit of a pick play, gets away with it. Tavares goes behind the net, feeds it to Nylander behind the net. He gives it out to Cowan, who snipes from a sharp angle. Easton Cowan, the 20-year-old, ties the game 1-1 with like 3 minutes to go. Absolutely fantastic shot by Cowan to tie the game and keep the Leafs in it. Moments after that, Miles Wood with 2 grade A chances in front, and Joseph Woll back-to-back incredible saves in front, saves the Leafs bacon, and they make it to overtime. In overtime, Matthews almost does something sexy after a chance for, I believe it was Fantilli at the side of the net, maybe. Matthews springs Cowan for a partial breakaway, but Cowan, his stick breaks. Werenski gets back. He's able to disrupt the shot enough, and it's turned away by Jet Greaves. Woll makes a huge glove save, and then a couple minutes later makes another big one-timer save, and then end of a shift for William Nylander. He's out there with Matthews, who just came off the bench. He tries to feed it to Matthews. The puck bounces back to Nylander, and then you're in the classic like 2-on-1 situation with Matthews with his stick way up in the air, and Nylander sees that. So does Jet Greaves. Jet Greaves cheats over to Matthews' side, and Nylander just flicks it back across to the blocker's side of Greaves into the back of the net, and the Leafs win. Thank God, because if they had wasted this Joseph Woll effort, I would have been so upset with them. The Leafs are able to actually win a freaking fracking game. Let's go. So that is your game recap. With that being said, I'm going to turn us over to our second period. Now, just a reminder, as always, to hit that like button and subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Go follow the Game Over Network on all social media. And as we get into this second period, we just have to appreciate Joseph Woll. I think James Myrtle put the tweet out, 3.8 expected goals for the Jackets in this one, but just the one goal. Obviously, one gets called back. That helps. But Joseph Woll has been spectacular this season since coming back. I don't think he's had a bad game so far. I mean, what are the games he's played? If we go back to that Montreal game on Saturday, yes, he got pulled after giving up 4 goals halfway through. He was the only good part about the team on Saturday, and then he follows that up with yet another spectacular performance. Joseph Woll is playing absolutely incredible hockey right now, and this is the only reason that the Leafs have a chance to even be somewhat competitive. Admittedly, they didn't look fantastic in this one. 5-on-5, they were okay defensively. They gave up 8 high danger chances at 5-on-5, and 2.4 expected goals. Like 5-on-5, they were passable defensively. They were struggling with the rush chances, but on the cycle, they were doing a good job. But the Leafs generated an okay amount, but it wasn't a banner day. I expected more considering Matthews and Knies were back. I'm hoping that against Washington on Friday and Pittsburgh on Saturday, the offense can get going a little bit. That being said, we were also expecting this. The Leafs were shooting the lights out and still losing. So now we're seeing that we're seeing all the regression happen at the same time. So early in the season, the Leafs save percentage was so low, but their shooting percentage was so high. Now the shooting percentage is coming back down to earth, but the save percentage is also rising back up to earth, if that makes sense, to where now we're starting to get to the levels they probably should be at. The Leafs need to find a way to generate more meaningful chances 5-on-5. They need to go to the net more. They need to just get in better shooting positions, quite frankly, because they're not doing that enough so far this season. As long as Joseph Woll is in net, the Leafs at this rate are going to have a chance to win every single night. That being said, obviously this weekend there's a back-to-back, so we're going to see Dennis Hill to be in a game. We're going to see how that goes. The Leafs it's put up or shut up time for the Leafs. We're at American Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow at the time of recording this and of streaming this. This is the part of the season where we thought that we would know what the Leafs are. They've had a pretty horrible start to the season. They were last in the conference coming into this game. I don't know if they passed Buffalo. Yes, they passed Buffalo, but they're still 7th in the Atlantic. And they are 1 point behind New York for 14th. They're 15th in the conference still. It's not good. the Leafs have got to get on their high horse a little bit and win some games. You got a good chance with this road trip, and we've postulated that they just desperately needed a road trip to actually spend time together, actually learn how to play for each other, and actually start to dig in a little bit and get back to basics with this system. The system is what it is. I've said it before. It sucks. It doesn't suit the players. That being said, we're kind of stuck with it, so you just got to dig in and work because there's not much you can do about it. It's not changing, so you might as well make the most of what you have available. I will say, Berube, he needs to dial in the lineup a little bit more. I thought Domi was fine in this one. He obviously had the turnover that led to a goal against, but him and Matthews have some chemistry together, so I'm fine to let Domi have another game on the top line. The third line was a joke in this one. Robertson and McMahon just simply don't work well together. I would want to try maybe Robertson, Waugh, and Michelli. I'd get Michelli back in the lineup, and I think I would be fine giving McMahon a night off. McMahon is so streaky, and he doesn't play well with Robertson, and if you're not going to play him in the top six, which you can't justify right now, then you got to scratch him, because he's just not been good. So I would try Robertson, Waugh, and Michelli. Waugh, I thought, was okay in this one. He had some nice moments, but he can't babysit Robertson and McMahon doing whatever they were doing in this one. Matthew saying, well, the Leafs didn't suck. That's true. They, in fact, didn't suck. They weren't great, but Joseph Woll covered up a lot of warts. It's crazy how much a good goaltending can cover up the Leafs' woes. It's insane. Like, honestly, like, if we're being practical, the Leafs didn't play that different than the way they would have played in front of Stolarz. But they got the saves in this one, and that makes a world of difference. So, credit to Woll for that, and credit to the team for that. They still played good zone defense. It's just the rush chances. They still have to dial in the turnover problem that they have. They still struggle against fast teams. So that's something to monitor. Although you got Washington and Pittsburgh this weekend, who are okay matchups. We'll see how those go. Robertson needs a grinder. I think he should be with Lawton as his center. I would consider that. I would actually do Lorentz, Lawton, and Robertson as a fourth line. I'd be fine with that. And then do McMahon, Waugh, Michelli, and then take Yarncroke out. I'd be fine with that. You can't justify bringing Joshua back in, though. He's been horrible. So he needs a few games off before you give him a chance. And then when Joshua comes back in, he's going to be a fourth liner, and he's going to have to earn it. Well, like, we're at the point where, yeah. I mean, because Easton Cowan's a full-time NHLer. You can't, like, Easton Cowan is a permanent fixture in your top six at this point. And that means that some of these guys are going to get pushed out of the lineup. And Robertson keeps earning a spot. Robertson is still pretty good. So I think I would honestly consider Knies, Matthews, Robertson, Cowan, Tavares, Nylander, and then McMahon, Waugh, Michelli, Lorentz, Lawton, Yarncroke, scratch Joshua, scratch Domi. I'd consider that. But that's a different conversation. So the lineup's okay right now, but yeah, I think that Berube still has to figure out his bottom six a little bit, because especially that third line, because that third line was so useless in this game that you got to be better. I did like that Matthews wasn't the first over the boards on the penalty kill, so that was a little bit better. The coaching was okay in this one. It was okay. Waugh, McMahon, and Michelli is the fourth line. Lorentz, Lawton, Robertson, third line. I mean, those bottom six lines are going to be interchangeable, I think. I feel like the Leafs are going to have 2 third and a half lines, like not quite fourth lines, but not quite third lines. I think they're just going to have 2 of those. But yeah, try things. You got to experiment with the bottom 6. You found a gem in Cowan, so you've got to you now have the luxury to mess around with the bottom 6 even more, knowing that you have such a stable presence in there. Pizzetta getting back in gear and could be a good call up. Waive Blais. I think Blais was waived. I'm pretty sure he was already waived this morning. Pizzetta would be good for a 1-game, just like energy kind of guy. I would love to see a Lorentz, Lawton, Pizzetta line for a game. Pizzetta's not good, but he does 2 things. He will hit and he will skate. And at this point, that's all you really need out of a good fourth liner. So I would love to see Pizzetta get into a game at some point. That'd be a ton of fun. And he'll fight too. He'll fight someone. Defensively, I mean, you need Carlo or Tanev back so that you can get McCabe back on the left because, man, Benoit sucks so much. And McCabe, like, I feel so bad for McCabe because McCabe's trying, but he's on the offside and he's playing with Benoit. He's getting buried with horrible assignments. He needs one of these defensive defensemen back. Like, I know Carlo hasn't been good, but McCabe and Carlo would be a lot better. Could only watch some. Okay, I'll check in saying could only watch some of the game due to work, but it looked a lot closer to how they played last year in terms of how they defended and broke out of their own zone. Yes, the actual in-zone defense was much better. It's the rush defense that was a problem in this game, and that has been a little bit worse than last year. But the actual in-zone defense was very good for the Leafs in this game for the most part, and the breakouts were hit or miss. Still too much off the glass and out, but. If you want to just cause trouble, I could see for a night Joshua, Domi, Pizzetta, LOL. There's one problem with that. In concept, yes. The problem is Joshua has no interest in causing trouble. He's been pathetic when he's somehow like he's leading the Leafs in hits. When's the last time you noticed Joshua physically take over a shift? The answer is you haven't. Not in a Leafs uniform, at least. So in concept, yeah. In practice, Joshua's playing too soft. So if Joshua wants to wake up and actually start hitting with impact, then absolutely do that. But until he's ready to play with a chip on his shoulder, nope, I'm good. So the lineup is starting to dial in. I do think you have 5 out of 6. You have 5 out of 6 top 6 forwards set. Knies, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Cowan. You have one spot to fill. Maybe Domi fills that. Maybe Robertson fills that. I don't know. Maybe it's a trade. I don't know. But it's the bottom 6 man. It's that third line. Joshua had a conversation with Berube about being more physical. So he's going to get into a game this weekend. I better see it. Like, earn your keep. You're a $3 million player, and you're looking like an AHL player right now. So so far, Joshua has looked like Pierre Engvall, but slow. So he needs to be better. Plain and simple. Whenever he gets back in, he needs to prove that he belongs. With that said, I'm going to turn us over to our third segment here. And as I do, just a reminder to hit like and subscribe. Admittedly, I didn't really prepare anything for this third segment. I started talking about Joseph Woll, then I started talking about the lineup. I kind of blended my 2 segment ideas together, so that's funny. We'll mention that Nylander's goal made him the Leafs career leader with 15 overtime winners, passing both Auston Matthews and Matt Sundin, so good for William Nylander. It's ironic because Nylander didn't even have that great of a game, and then he scored the overtime winner, which is funny. Easton Cowan reveals Joseph Woll got the belt tonight. No surprise there. He absolutely deserves it. Matthews looked more determined, but I still don't see that shot yet. It's unfortunate because we saw the quick release in the first period where, like, out of nowhere, it didn't even look like a crazy release, and he hit the post, like, beat Greaves clean. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's a confidence thing. Matthews has the shot, but he hasn't been getting into enough good positions to shoot this season. I think that might be it. I think it might be more where his shot opportunities are coming from, because you remember in the past, he would always get these like crazy shots from like the slot, and he was so good at getting open. He needs a playmaker on that line, so Domi being out there is good, or if you want to have Michelli, I don't care. I want to see a few more games of this top line, because I think Domi will do a good job of finding Matthews, and Matthews will start to do a better job at getting open. There's got to be something there. There's got to be more there. Matthews has to score more. Matthews and Knies have to score more. Knies also has to take over games more, because Knies has been a bit of a passenger at times this season. His point totals have been there. His eye test results have not, if that makes sense. Like, he hasn't passed the eye test very much this year, but he's gotten the points, so we haven't really batted an eye. But Knies needs to be a little bit better too. And obviously Matthews needs to put the puck in the back of the net, plain and simple. So with that being said, I think I'm just going to turn us over to our fourth segment. We don't need to waste any time here. We can get to the Q&A part of the show, and we'll just have a bit of a shorter show tonight. So as I turn us over to our final segment, again, reminder, hit like, hit subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Make sure you follow the Game Over Network on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Zach Payne 41 on Twitter, Bluesky, and YouTube. And let's see if there's any other quotes, I should say, coming out from the postgame yet. Not yet, it seems like. Hold on. Let me see. Nope, doesn't look like anything so far. Oh well. If the Hildebeest can do a good backup this weekend, we'll play like tonight. We'll let Stoli get his rest. Honestly, man, I have no idea where Stoli, what that situation is. And I know we talked about the facts that the Leafs just are so secretive with their injuries, but Stolarz could start skating tomorrow. He could not play the rest of the season. I have no idea. And the Leafs are never going to tell us because they're terrified of their own media. It's so weird. They're terrified of their own shadow at this point. What did you think of Domi on the top line? I thought he looked better. I wouldn't go far as to say good. He had some nice moments with Matthews, but he also had a couple of head scratchers where he was trying to force the puck into areas where it's like, what was the plan? Like, he would force a pass to Knies where Knies is completely blanketed and the puck just ends up deflecting into the corner. It's like, what were you trying to get out of that play? But I do like, this is the last chance for Domi, right? Like, you did not earn this spot. You did not earn a first line role. You did not earn being elevated in the lineup. You deserve to be scratched. You need to now prove it's the opposite of Joshua, right? Where it's Joshua is like, when he gets back in the lineup, you have to play with a chip on your shoulder and earn your spot in the lineup. Domi already has the spot in the lineup, and it's the best spot he could ever be in. And he has to justify his existence, I guess, in a way. But it's I don't know. We'll see. Because I've said it recently. I'm pretty out on Domi at this point, so he's got to prove himself. Do you think Woll needed the belt over the first goal for Cowan? It was not Cowan's first goal. That was his second. His first goal was in Philly a few weeks back. It was a big goal for Cowan, though. So, but no, Woll deserves the belt because the Leafs don't come close to it. This game is like 6-2 without Woll. If Stolarz or even if Hildebeest's in net, like the Blue Jackets win that game fairly handily. Joseph Woll was excellent, and he absolutely deserves the belt. I'll see if there's any quotes one last time, but I don't believe there are. So, with that being said, actually, I'll put this on screen real quick because this picture is awesome. Hold on. Bear with me. I'm putting this on screen because we need some Joseph Woll appreciation in our lives. Hold on. And I love that Hildebeest's next to him too. Look at our beautiful boys. Look at our boys. Look at old Joey Woll there with the belt and Hildebeest. Hildebeest's hair is crazy. But, yeah, shout out Joseph Woll, man. Stealing a game in Columbus. The Leafs finally beat the Blue Jackets. That felt good. So we'll see if the Leafs can build on this. I've said that about every win recently. But I'm grasping at straws, man. They need to start playing better at some point. So why not start now, right? So with that being said, that's going to be it for this show. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're on YouTube, be sure to hit like and subscribe. And you can follow the Game Over Network on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Zach Payne 41 on Twitter, Bluesky, and YouTube. Now, programming note, I will not be streaming Friday's game, so no show on Friday. I'll be back Saturday after the game against the Penguins. So until then, my friends, have a good couple of days. Enjoy a Leafs game without a game over after it. So until then, cheers.